Okay. There, I just clicked something. Bear with me. Okay, I'm good. Good to go. All right. All right. So I will prep you with the fact that, as you saw, I quoted some Hager flush bolts yesterday, which I learned are discontinued. And before I even heard that back from Hager, the customer placed the order. So I have an order on the books for Hager units. I know you mentioned the Rock 2960s. So I'm curious if there's other options, automatic versus manual applications, all that good stuff.
So Hager has replaced that 296W with their 296D, and we're in the process of getting it added, the new ones added to the site. In fact, I have a pair of them on my desk of Hager's replacement.
Okay.
What's nice about these types of flush bolts is the pair of doors there's a pair of doors going to the master bedroom in my house. And the active door has a privacy set. The inactive door is prepped for 2 manual flush bolts and a strike. So every single day, my wife reaches up and reaches down and unbolts those and opens up the inactive door. Now, be mindful, it's pretty much just her and I in the house, or at least that half of the house. And then every night at bedtime, I close the door and then reach up and reach down and rebolt it. Now, what's nice about these is, and it's not just me, there's, lots of people love the functionality of these in the sense that on that inactive door, when they were equipped for this style automatic flush bolt, you push the door closed. And then when you pull the active door closed, those triggers, those triangular shaped triggers in the end of that are sticking out of the edge of the door, they're going to force those bolts to extend. So every single time the active door is closed, the inactive door is also bolted, making them automatic.
Okay.
So in the world of flush bolts, you have manual, and manual are exactly like they sound. You have to literally put your hand on it and manipulate the bolt to, throw or to retract it. And that's how you secure something. Generally, manual flush bolts are mortised to the edge or to the style of the door, such that when the doors are closed, you can't see them. I've also seen that same, like a Rockwood 555. Or actually, no, since we're looking at Hager, it's a 282D. What did I type in? 282D. So
Okay.
Now the 282D, what's fun about this is, they're showing it mortised. And the preparation for these are actually quite easy in the sense that if it's a wood door, and this is the wrong flush bolt for a wood door, by the way, and I'll show you a better, I think it's a 292D, but this is appropriate for steel doors. The reason it's inappropriate but is used very, very commonly is drilling this hole down through the edge of the door is tricky business. So much so, and I've done it countless times, and I've only ruined 1 or 2 doors doing it. But this company, Northfield, and I actually have one. I have this tool here for sure. Yeah, I've got one here. And what you end up doing is you clamp this on the edge of the door. The door sits in this pocket, and you clamp it. And this bushing allows you to guide your hole, that long drill bit, that 18-inch drill bit down into the door here, drill that down. So the door is laying on its side. The door is basically looking like this. And you're standing here. Okay? And you've got that gizmo clamped, and you're drilling in here. So there's really very little amount of room that you have, because the dimension from the edge of the door or the backside of the bolt is really small. So from here, the center line, to the edge of the door.
Is that 3/4 at the top?
No, I don't think so. Let's try. Let's look at Rockwood's template. Yeah. If it's on the Hager, I didn't see it. It's 3/4 inch. So the bottom line is, when you're drilling, you're going to have a bit that's going to be 5/8 or something like that. I don't recall the size of that bit, but the bolt head is 1/2 inch. So you've got half of 5/8, which is going to be 10 5/16. 3/4 minus 5/16, 5/12. That's 7/16. 7/16 from here to here. So what happens is when you're prepping that in the field, the edge of your door, if we looked at what that corner looks like, looking at it from the end, you're going to have a piece of lumber that's going to be backed to possibly another piece of lumber, and here's your door skin here. It's an awful drawing, but you sometimes need to drill that hole right there. This is generally hardwood, but not always, and this is generally a far less dense material.
Oh.
So that drill bit has a tendency to go away from the denser material. So that's why the 282s and the 555s, they're wrong. What you want, I think, is a 292, and the reason that that's the right flush bolt, no, it's not the right flush bolt. The reason you want the wood door style flush bolt is because you mortise 282D. This is all important, not just a unexpected detour in the conversation. So I don't remember the darn part number, so let's do this. 282D. Hager's been in business since about the Civil War.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I knew they'd been a while. That's a long time.
Yeah. They may be on their 7th generation.
Wow. I guess that's why they're a well-known name.
They keep pushing. They do. They keep pushing. The 283D is the right part number. I don't sell it very often, is why I don't have it memorized. The 283D, now that's a lot easier when it comes to prepping the door. The problem with these styles, and Trimco has one, but the problem with these is that if you've got a 6/8 or a 7/0 door, you can generally reach up and grab that. You got an 8-foot door, you're not going to reach up and grab that. Now, you can chisel out the edge of the wood door, and you don't chisel all the way through here, as it would be, as you would kind of, the way this is drawn, it's wrong. It shouldn't be shown this way, but they're showing it for illustration. All you're really doing is mortising out 1 1/32 here. Yeah. What's that dimension? 6. The mortise is 6 inch. This has got nothing to do with what we're working on, but I could, within a couple of minutes, create a tool path that would actually, I can just show you what that looks like. Let's reset the preview. I use this CAD/CAM software for the CNC, but I also use it to illustrate. So here's the bit doing a prep. This is the header prep for a Ives 7256 top pivot. I'm literally showing the client what they need to do.
Right, okay.
So this pocket that someone would do in the edge of the wood door for the 282 or whatever number it is not unlike this. So now you're going to have a body prep and a plate prep. Here comes the plate prep. And just give it a moment because it's actually more, the way I drew it was not the best way. It's mortising in here and it'll pop up here in a second.
Okay.
There it is. And because it's thickness, I've got it making 2 passes or 3 passes. So at the end of the day, I could use this software to show someone what it needs to look like. That's what it looks, basically if your door ended right here, it would be a 282 prep. So this is appropriate for wood doors because you can route this with a router. You don't have to drill that hole perilously close to the edge of the door. So those are manual flush bolts. There's wood door style and metal door or steel door style. And then you have to be really mindful what is permissible on your door in terms of fire rating and code compliance. So that leads us into what's an automatic flush bolt or a semi-automatic. So automatic is what we had. Here's automatic. Ives 292. Same thing as the 296D or W, whatever it was. Same concept. When you close that active door, and you've got the inactive in the closed position, you're going to automatically be bolting. You're going to have 2 secure doors. Now, if you have a fire rated door, the issue with flush bolts is you need to have that inactive door closed first. Because if the active door is already closed, the inactive door is not going to self-bolt it. It's not going to bolt itself. So when you have a fire-rated pair of doors, manual flush bolts are almost never permissible, even though if there's no human occupancy on the other side of the opening, like a mechanical closet in a condo building, you can use manual flush bolts on the inactive door because there's no human occupancy on the other side. So if you get into a situation where you have a pair of doors and they're fire rated, and by the way, this error message, Randall is on the hunt. He's got his Bumble bus and he's on the back of his elephant and he's on safari and trying to hunt that problem down.
That's why I haven't mentioned it. I know if it's happening to me in a matter of seconds, it's probably happening to you, and you're moving it up the chain
10 times over. So the bottom line is you would use a coordinator, and what the coordinator does, and there are different types. This is a bar coordinator. What these basically do is there's this reason. Okay, so here's a pair of doors. Here's a pair of doors, an active door, active door. There's a nub that sticks out here, and you can see it in the product info page. Yeah, here it is. So this is sticking out, and you can't push it in. So when the active door moves into the closed position, it's going to be held. It's going to be held ajar. It's going to be held out here until the inactive door, because it's a fire door, they're going to be self-closing.
Right.
The inactive door is going to come closed. It's going to depress the inactive door trigger. Only once this is pushed in will the active door holding lever be permitted to move. It will then, once this is pushed in because the inactive is closed, the active will then close. Okay. And that's when you're timing hardware, flush bolts or strikes, etc. So in an application where you have fire doors, because the tenant, there are 3 rules when it comes to fire doors. They must be self-closing, they must be self-latching, and they must be free-swinging. You can forget about that one right now. But they have to be self-latching, and the only way to get them self-latching is they have to be self-closing. So if you had manual flush bolts, there's no way for that to be self-latching or self-bolting.
Right.
That's when you move to automatic or semi-automatic. Now, a semi-automatic is nothing other than a combination of one automatic at the top generally and a manual flush bolt elsewhere. And let's take a look at what that looks like. And that's permissible to use as well. Now, what's nice about those is, what's nice about semi-automatic is if you're going in and out constantly, it'd be easier if I would just remember the part numbers. If you're going in and out constantly with a semi-automatic, there's only one bolt that you have to retract and pull back. And there are wood door versions of automatics as well. Here's semi-automatic. Ives uses the term semi-automatic in the sense that in order, so this is going to automatically bolt every single time. But in order to get it open, you can open up the active door, but it's still latched at the top until you push your finger in here and depress this. That's then going to draw that back. So they're calling it self-latching, top bolt. Ives is going to call it, I believe, semi-automatic. It's nice that these manufacturers' pages load so much faster or properly now.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the big ones would take forever. Semi-auto. FB40, I think the part number was. Okay. FB60. They may not be using. Okay. Bar coordinators, I'm sure I've gone too far, yeah. FB458 is the absolute classic manual flush bolt. If anybody knows a part number, it's going to be that. Constant latching. Constant latching. Constant latching. Yeah, you know, perhaps semi-automatic's not used. Maybe Trimco uses it. Still, but the bottom line is when you have a combination of a manual and something that's automatic, the bottom is automatic here, but the top, it automatically latches, so it will latch,
right,
or constant latching, but it's not like automatic flush bolts in that all you need to do is open the inactive door and then open the active and your inactive is automatically unbolted. So they're semi-automatic in that regard.
And each manufacturer is probably going to have a slightly different terminology, just like Ives says constant latching, and someone else might say semi-automatic, but it's really just a combination of, you know, the top being auto when it closes, manual when it opens, and the bottom's always auto.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, you do have to watch your terminology. I'll call it a privacy lock. Well, some people, like 1 out of 10,000 people will say, you told me it was a privacy lock. A lock has a key. Well, okay. I should have called it a privacy latch. So, yeah, you have to watch your terminology because the very occasional person is going to correct you on what the catalog of the manufacturer says, because that person hasn't likely spent as much time as you have with your nose in hardware books, and they're literally, the only thing they know is what's here. So you have to be mindful to speak that same language. But when it comes to these, every manufacturer is going to have a version of this.
Okay. Manual,
semi-automatic, and automatic. I mean, every manufacturer is going to have it. Trimco has a couple of derivatives. So they've got like a wood door style that's a lot more, they may have a wood door style for a taller door. I want to see if DCI, that's a 790, that's their wood door style, or hat, I should say. Yeah. They always put the good stuff at the beginning. Self-latching. I call them self-latching, automatic. Yeah. I don't see anyone using that term.
Okay.
Automatic, yeah. Trimco uses the term semi-automatic.
Okay.
So, again, it's that version of, this is going to be constant latching. The fact that you've got a latch sort of prep, when that door closes, it's just going to snap latched. In order to retract it, you're going to lift that lever up. So they use semi-automatic. It's automatic in the sense that it automatically latches, but you have to manually unlatch it, whereas with an automatic, it's automatic both ways.
Okay.
So every manufacturer is going to have a version of this. Now, what you have to watch out for is the height of your door. First of all, if you're dealing with fire doors, you're going to stick to whatever the manufacturer says regarding what they've tested for. So every manufacturer is going to have a reference like this. Manual flush bolts, okay, awesome. Up to 8-foot by 10-foot pairs of metal doors, up to 3 hour fire rated. So if you're dealing with fire doors, you're going to want to make sure that your hardware is always listed as permissible for your application. That'll get you that's no good. The height of the door is important. They're saying 10 foot. If you need to make your top flush bolt longer so that your client doesn't have to have a ladder, you're going to use a longer top rod, and that's just typical 1/4 threaded rod. But when it comes to a fire door, I would be ordering this longer rod from them and not just going to Home Depot and getting a piece of T-rod.
Right.
I mean, that's what they're doing, but they're the ones who've tested their hardware.
Right. Yeah, it's actually labeled for that. Just like in the fire hose industry, I learned that, there's some fire hoses exactly the same, but you pay $10 more for the one that you put the UL label on, just because they had to pay for the testing. So
that's precisely how steel doors are. We used to order all of our doors fire rated. They'd all have a label on them, and when the client did not need fire doors, which was the majority of the time, we simply removed the labels. And maybe those labels ended up on some other door. I don't know. So that's the three derivatives of flush bolts. Now, I have seen manual flush bolts like this 780 from DCI mortised in the face of the door. I've seen that. It's like, what were you thinking? Oh, that's what I thought we were supposed to do. Well, it works. It's just wrong. You're not meant to see it, but, it works. So what questions do you have about flush bolts?
You really covered a lot of them and actually refreshed me on the fact that, coordinators are needed, and, I actually have some visuals flashing back in my head from DCI and, remembering, how they worked now, which is good. So I have an order, like I said, for that 296, which discontinued, and I think we said that 292 or 282 is a replacement. This is the sort of thing where I'm going to have to check with the customer with the previous specs and check fire rating and all that good stuff with them, or should I just throw this back in their court and show them what the replacement is? I have an order on the books, and I don't want to.
If it was me, I would tell Hager to ship the new version, which if they've got it available, which again is I just had it in my hand. Where'd I put it?
Either a 282 or a 292, I think.
Well, it's a 296 something. Wait a minute. It was literally just in my hand. I said it.
Yeah. The old one's a 296.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, 296D. I've got it on my desk.
Oh, that's right.
They don't even have it in their catalog yet or their website. If it was me, I would just be telling them, where are the 296Ds? Are they ready to roll? And because there's no change in templating. There's no change in fire rating. It's just a letter change, which probably to me means it's just simply a different supply chain path. Something like that. Something insignificant. That's what I would do, because there's no material difference in those two. Okay.
Well, that's good. That gives me an outlet to try to salvage this order, and fantastic.
Oh, no. Oh. Yeah, Yeah, there's none of that. You just tell them to change it. Now, if they've got a problem in terms of lead time, that's when you'll, maybe refer back to that alternate that I provided yesterday.
Yeah.
Or whenever, and do a ship A on that.
Ship A.
Ship A, yeah. I will send you an email on what ship A means.
Gotcha.
And, okay, now, what else you got when it comes to Flushbolts?
That's really it. You know, when I took the order, I realized I was pretty green and didn't have much to offer if they asked me any questions. So you've really recapped a lot. Auto, semi, just the functionality and application of each, and that they're, the autos for fire doors. And so you've actually given me a lot of info that, some of it, a decent amount I've probably forgotten, but when I don't actually take the calls on them and talk over the applications regularly, I forget them. So yeah, this has actually been a tremendous amount of information that's been very good. So yeah, okay. I wish I had more, but you've I don't want to say overwhelmed me, but you gave me a lot to chew on. And
it's a small topic, actually, Flushbolts. I think because I know that you're working on that order with the hollow metal doors. Hollow metal doors should be next week. That guy out in California. I mean, that's a PO, right. Man. I mean, that's net 30 is okay. That's a PO. You should get that on the books before the end of the year.
Okay.
So let's.
Excellent.
There's one. So unrelated.
Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.